Hello, U.S. history class, and happy Wednesday. I hope the week has been going well so far. It looks like things have been going well so far in our class, which I am super stoked about. And today brings us to a very cool day. We are officially going to begin working on the project. I have a lot to talk about today, so I'm going to jump straight into it. Let's work on this project. Our daily objective is I can explore the requirements for the project by reading project documents, asking questions, and beginning research. So for boy band, like we've been doing, we've got a quick video to watch, and we'll be doing some reflection questions afterward. So very quickly, here are the reflection questions we're going to be answering. One way people choke under pressure is when they are distracted by anxiety, nerves, and fear. What happens when people try to do things distracted? Another way that people choke under pressure is when people overthink an activity, especially when they know how to do it well. Why does overthinking something lead to bad results? And then finally, last question, what is one way that you can improve your focus on activities? Let's watch this video to give ourselves a chance to answer those questions.
Your favorite athlete closes in for a victorious win. The crowd holds its breath, and at the crucial moment, she misses the shot. That competitor just experienced the phenomenon known as choking, where despite months, even years of practice, a person fails right when it matters most. Choking is common in sports, where performance often occurs under intense pressure and depends on key moments. And yet, performance anxiety also haunts public speakers, contestants in spelling bees, and even world-famous musicians. Most people intuitively blame it on their nerves, but why does being nervous undermine expert performance? There are two sets of theories, which both say that primarily choking under pressure boils down to focus. First, there are the distraction theories. These suggest that performance suffers when the mind is preoccupied with worries, doubts, or fears, instead of focusing its attention on performing the task at hand. When relevant and irrelevant thoughts compete for the same attention, something has to give. The brain can only process so much information at once. Tasks that challenge working memory, the mental scratch pad we use to temporarily store phone numbers and grocery lists, are especially vulnerable to pressure. In a 2004 study, a group of university students were asked to perform math problems, some easy, others more complex and memory intensive. Half the students completed both problem types with nothing at stake, while the others completed them when calm and under pressure. While everyone did well on the easy problems, those who were stressed performed worse on the more difficult memory-intensive tasks. Explicit monitoring theories make up the second group of explanations for choking under pressure. They're concerned with how pressure can cause people to overanalyze the task at hand. Here, the logic goes that once a skill becomes automatic, thinking about its precise mechanics interferes with your ability to do it. Tasks we do unconsciously seem to be most vulnerable to this kind of choking. A study on competitive golfers compared their performance when instructed to simply focus on putting as accurately as possible, versus when they were primed to be acutely aware of the mechanics of their putting stroke. Golfers usually perform this action subconsciously, so those who suddenly tuned in to the precise details of their own moves also became worse at making accurate shots. Choking may not be inevitable for everyone, though. Research suggests that some are more susceptible than others, especially those who are self-conscious, anxious, and afraid of being judged negatively by others. So how can we avoid choking when it really counts? First, it helps to practice under stressful conditions. In a study on expert dart players, researchers found that those who hadn't practiced under stress performed worse when anxious, compared to those who had become accustomed to pressure. Secondly, many performers extol the virtues of a pre-performance routine, whether it's taking a few deep breaths, repeating a cue word, or doing a rhythmic sequence of movements. Studies on golfing, bowling, and water polo find that short rituals can lead to more consistent and accurate performance under pressure. And thirdly, researchers have shown that having an external focus on the ultimate goal works better than an internal focus, where someone is tuned into the mechanics of what they're doing. A study of experienced golfers revealed that those who hit chip shots while focused on the flight of the ball performed significantly better than those who focused on the motion of their arms. So perhaps we can modify that age-old saying, practice under pressure, with focus, and with that glorious end goal in sight, makes perfect. For a nail-biting example of perseverance.
All right, thank you for watching that video with me. Now, for these reflection questions for boy band, please go ahead and take a moment to answer them right now out loud. Teacher Maypo is going to go ahead and pause the video. All righty. So, are you ready to start work on this project? We haven't talked much about it yet, which is why I'm going to have to talk to you a lot about it today. I apologize in advance for that, but I've tried to include a few GIFs to keep us rolling and to keep us moving throughout. So the project requirements for this project, currently on Edmodo, in that same pinned document as the project guide, is your project requirements document. Before I even talk about that, the project guide has been updated to include the rubric. So how you will be graded on this project is on Edmodo, as well as its project requirements document. And this project requirements document will have everything you need to complete this project on there. I'm going to put the project calendar on Edmodo tomorrow. I don't want to overwhelm you with stuff today. And today we're going to be going over these things. So you can pull up the project requirements document if you would like to follow along right now, or you can go back to it later and I will be going over all of the same information anyway. So a reminder for our group project objective is that you will be creating a TV news report. This is what you guys decided on, and I'm so excited to watch it happen. You will have the choice of using either Adobe Spark. Adobe Spark is a little bit of an easy to use, designed for students, video making platform, which you can find online. And then there's also a website called FlexClip, which is a potentially higher quality product, but it could be harder to use. More information on these two sources is on the project requirements document, including tutorial videos and links that explain how you can use these sources. So we're not going to necessarily need to get started on creating this report right away, but we are going to need to make this decision at some point. So today, we're going to talk a little bit about real life journalism, the inverted pyramid. The inverted pyramid, which you can see right here on your screen, is a journalistic practice. Real, honest to God journalists use this strategy to create their news reports, website posts, and the like. Okay? We're going to do the same thing. So the journalistic practice we will use to create our news report is called the inverted pyramid. Okay? The inverted pyramid is a commonly used method of journalism for TV shows, newspapers, magazines, and online blogs. Right? What this strategy does that gives us a little bit of an advantage in terms of creating a news product and not just a spoken aloud essay is it gives the audience the most important, most basic information first, which is very effective in getting your point across. Okay. Step number one is you include the most newsworthy information, that the things that your listeners really need to hear. Who, what, when, where, why, and how. We'll talk about that. Step two are you give further important details. And step 3 is you give other general information as well. And as you can see, we start at the top, we end at the bottom. The top has the most information shared, followed closely by the second one, and then the third section is the smallest. We include the least information there. So the first step you're going to do is you're going to choose a topic. We'll talk about choosing topics later, but in order to use the inverted pyramid, you must choose a topic. Okay? So once we've chosen our topic, you move into the most newsworthy information. Okay? That's this top section on the pyramid here. And this section gives the audience the most essential information about your topic. So, what does the audience need to know the most? Okay? Gives the audience the general idea of your topic, and the reason it is used in media is if it is interesting enough, the audience will decide to keep listening or change the channel based off of this information. So it's very important to get right. In our project, you are going to provide an interesting hook, something to get the audience's attention. Then you're going to answer these questions. Who is involved? What happened? When did this happen? Where did it happen? Why did it happen? And how did it happen? Okay? Now again, you don't need to know all of this stuff right now. You don't need to write notes down. This is all on the project requirements document. So pay attention, get a general idea from our discussion, but all of this is on the project requirements document. The next section of the inverted pyramid is the important details. This is where you provide solid evidence about your subject, okay? So in this section for our class, you will include who benefited from this event. You will include, did anyone suffer from this event? And did this benefit the United States in the short term or the long term? And how so? Okay? Each of your answers here in this section to these 3 questions should include a claim and some evidence. Okay? And the final section right here, the other general information section, this is where you provide other information that is not as important to the topic when compared to the other things, but it's still important information. So in this section, you will include 1 to 2 sentences of context. Why did this event happen? What brought it about? And then you will include what is one interesting fact about your event. Okay, so that is the inverted pyramid. Let's talk about how you're going to use it. Your news report that you are going to be giving to American citizens in the year 1860 will have at least 4 different events covered. Okay, each of these 4 events, each of these topics, will require an inverted pyramid structure. So you will have to do all 4, you have to do 4 total inverted pyramids. You will need to include at least 1 economic topic, something to do with the economy. You'll have to include at least 1 social topic, something to do with people. You'll have to include at least 1 political topic, which is something to do with the government. And finally, you get to choose 1 topic from any section of your choice, okay? Either economic, social, or political. You get to choose. You will be choosing these events, these topics, from things we have learned about in class, okay? So you're not just going to be finding these out of nowhere, unless you want to. We will be doing internet research, but your main place to draw events and topics should be from what we have learned about in class. The Erie Canal, the growth of slavery, the Indian Removal Act, the abolitionist movement, things like that. Some other things that your project will include. The news report should come from a network, okay? So you need to come up with your own station and name it. All 4 of you should talk in this video, and all 4 of you should have your faces shown unless you will communicate that with me otherwise, okay? If you don't communicate that, then all 4 of you should have your faces on there. There should be a verbal transition between each event. Think about a news show, right? They don't just shout facts at you. they talk to you, right? They pretend like they're talking to you. We want to make this as authentic as possible. On that note, students should be dressed professionally when in the video. You never see a news reporter up there in a tank top, right? They always look like this guy with a nice suit on. And each event that you talk about in your video should have 2 pictures included, but you should aim for more. The more pictures you include, the more exciting your report is. So, do you have any questions at this time about the project? Probably, okay? So I will be hosting office hours before school tomorrow from 8 to 9 a.m. Please stop by to ask your questions, okay? If you want to, you can have everyone write down a list of questions on a document and then have one person come ask me those questions tomorrow, or all of you can stop by. It's up to you, but please come ask your questions. This is a big project and I want you to be able to ask questions. So, for your research, okay, we're going to be completing a learning log. You'll be doing research as a team to help you complete your project. And for this research, you'll be using the learning log. What is the learning log, Teacher Nolan? That's a great question. Let me show you. This is our project learning log. As you can see, there's a section for the economy, for the social, for the political, and for the 4th topic. You may remember this as being the 4 topics/events you will be including in your news report. So here's how a learning log works, okay? Whenever you do research, this is practicing the right way to do research, okay? Whenever you do research, you start with a question. It's kind of like need-to-know questions, right? So for economy, maybe we can say, what is an economic impact from the early 1800s, right? I don't know, that's just an idea. So you start with that question, and then you go find a resource to answer that question. You have 2 places to go find your resources. Number 1, and the place I suggest you go first, is documents we have looked at in this class, articles we have looked at in this class, long quotes we have looked at in this class. You have all of those saved to your computer. But a second place to go is to go to the internet. So if you find an internet source to answer your question, I want you to fill out right here how you know that resource is trustworthy. So you write your question, you record the source you are using to help you answer that information. Then you'll put here what you have learned from this resource, okay? And then you will say how exactly you will use it in your activity, okay, in your news report. Will it be a part of the who, what, when, where, why? Will it be a part of the basic information? Which section is it going to be a part of? How will you use this information? And something to note here on this document is you may learn something that may not be the answer to your question, and that's okay, right? Sometimes we go places looking for the answer to one thing, and we come away with the answer to something else. So something you've learned does not have to relate to your question if it's still important to your topic. And finally over here, this final section is questions I have thought of as a result of my research. Okay? This is an important one because when you are here, right, when you go to this, do this process on this document, when you're doing research, your questions should lead to answers. Those answers should lead you to more questions. So in this box right here, you'll have a question that you write down because of the information you found. And what do you do with that question, you may ask? You can put that question right back over here in the question I have column, okay? This learning log is complicated, okay? We're gonna start off today with doing research for the learning log, okay? With you guys coming up with a plan on what you're gonna be doing on this project, okay? Now, if you have questions on this learning log, if you don't understand it right away, just do your best and come to my office hours tomorrow so that you can better utilize tomorrow's class, okay? But you're gonna write down all the questions that you have to begin research. You're gonna find sources, You're going to find answers, even if it's not the answer to the question that you thought. And then you're going to record more questions here in the learning log. Okay. So, what are you doing now? Go download the learning log. Share one copy with everyone. Okay. Everyone should be doing research on the same document. Okay. And then you know what your final product is. And I want to give you a little bit of freedom here. You need to create this TV news report. You know what you need to do to create that news report, what you will need to include. Okay, so now it's up to you to find more information and to begin this planning process. I will be here to answer questions over Edmodo. I will be here to answer questions over office hours tomorrow. I wish that I could be there with all of you right now, gentlemen, but you guys are smart and capable. I believe in you to get a good start on this. Thank you all for being here today. Thank you all for doing your best. And I look forward to seeing everyone tomorrow.